All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. It's been about a week. I'm not sure if I'm going to release this on Monday or Tuesday. I think it depends on how much news we hear. The transfer window doesn't close until Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, I believe. And so if this is coming out if this is coming out on Tuesday, then it's already closed. Everything's done and dusted. If it's coming out on Monday, then maybe something happens in the last 7 hours, but it's kind of doubtful at this point. I think all the pieces are put together. But this is going over to North America and all the transfers that we're seeing this window. Let's just jump right into it. I'll talk about the teams that are sticking together. I've got them listed at the top of this board. NRG, not surprising. I mean, they just made top 4 to land. They're always going to finals except for the last 2 events. Like, they're not going to split. Ultimates, they just made the finals. Definitely not splitting. Pirates on a Boat. They made top 4 in the most recent North American event. They have signed up as the same trio as before. Deleted, same there. They're also backed by an org that is doing their whole documentary series, so it doesn't surprise me that they're sticking together. Team Evo, that's RG Relating Wave Speed. They're sticking together. They did go out before the top 16 of the most recent event, but it's also 3 Europeans coming over, all doing CRL. Not all doing CRL together, but makes sense that they would end up sticking. And then Netherlands, America, Canada is still sticking as well, but I think they stuck from last year as well. So I think those 3 players just like playing with each other. But those are the main suspects that are sticking together. And now we go into the roster changes. So I've got your logos drawn on the left. The players are in certain colors based on, where they are or where they were and then where they come from as well. So if we see Gen.G Mobil1 Racing, as we see, Magic Bear and Cheese, they're in the brown because Gen.G. They've still got their coach Rogreg, but the move for Justin coming from Shopify Rebellion to Gen.G Mobil1 Racing is official. I mean, Gen.G hasn't announced him yet, but that's what's going to happen. So Justin is joining Magic Bear and Cheese on the squad. I've also gone left to right in order of points, with the exception of the teams down here, and I'll talk about that later. But this is probably the headline move of the transfer window. There were a couple others that were really big moves as well, that being Complexity next. You still have CRR and Diaz, but Raze will decide to go back to South America, and in his place comes Frosty. So Frosty coming from that SSG squad, which I'll transition into now. You got Scribbles and Reveal sticking there, and then Kofer is coming in from 9 Lives. Kofer was picked up by Hawks in Chicago, which is 2/3 of the Spacestation trio, so a little bit ironic there, but they're keeping the coach Perry as well. But yeah, Kofer's coming in from 9 Lives. Speaking of 9 Lives, this was really the last domino to fall. It is Hawks from Chicago still. There were rumors at the beginning of the transfer window that Hawkster was going to leave, but that was mainly due to the fact that him and Kofer didn't mesh well on the pitch and they wanted to go a different direction. Now that Kofer left for Space Station, got an opportunity, it doesn't surprise me that Hawkster and Chicago are sticking together. In place of Kofer, they picked up Zanil from Omelet, and I think Fireburner is still the coach. It might be Torment now. I'm not entirely sure. But in terms of the 3 players you're going to see on the pitch, it's Hawkster, Chicago, and Zanil. So I think this is a very solid landing spot for Zanil. I feel like he's been kind of underrated for a bit, but he's also had like that potential for several years. So I'm curious to see what he does on the squad. Rebellion, this is a 1-for-1 with Gen.G. So I mentioned Justin going to Gen.G. Obviously that spot has opened up on Rebellion. So it's Parth, 2-Piece, and Reddles. They just traded 1-for-1. Still coached by memory. Strictly Business. This was one that I was kind of surprised to see a move because it's similar to Team Evo, where there's 3 players that have come over to North America for CRL teaming together. It was Crispy, Ixo, and Simas, and now instead they have picked up Eris from that Kansas City Pioneers roster from last split. So change there, a little bit surprising. These guys made a top 8 and had some signature wins over NRG and Space Station and stuff like that. So I figured they'd be on here. This is where it gets a little less out of order in terms of points because Wrench was kind of thrown in my plans. But SOS, this is the X What's Up roster. These guys made the second open and then made 9th through 12th in it. I can't remember who they beat to get there, to be honest. I apologize. But it was Drewy, Life, and Expert before. Expert has left. He's taken the What's Up name with him, and so these guys are called SOS now. And then Plexi has come over from Silence. So Silence was a team that made the Swiss a couple of times throughout the split. They're still going to be coached by Kairos, who I believe was coaching the What's Up roster at the start of the year. So these guys have 2 RLCS points. They're still one of the highest 9, so I figured I'd keep them on here. Highest 9 that has made a roster change, that is. Garrett, AJ, Squishy, I don't list them on here because they're not like actually taking it seriously, or they're just kind of a content team. So, but they are sticking together. Kansas City Pioneers, or ex-Kansas City Pioneers, I think they're signed up under the name of the boys right now. It's Aqua, and then you've got Evo coming over from Tech, and Percy coming over from Omelet. So if you've noticed, we got Zanil from Omelet going to 9 Lives, and Percy from Omelet going to XKCP. So that means Omelet seems to be completely disbanded. I have not heard of anything Lion Blaze related or where he might end up. So, but in terms of the Omelet points, disappeared into the void. These guys have gone separate ways. And then the last roster I'll talk about is signed up as Na, which is ex-Talladega. This was Adam, Oath, and Knight previously. I'm pretty sure that was the trio that they ran under Deleted XD last year. But they have also made a change. They have brought in Hazo from Wurstelstand. And so it's now Knight, Adam, and Hazo. Oath is still signed up, but I'm blanking on who he signed up with. I apologize. But those are probably the biggest 9 teams that are making roster changes and how they look like. But the one team that I do still have to talk about, the 10th team, is Tech or X-Tech. That sounds weird. Common Talk have decided to sit this split out as they could not find a new third to replace Evo. So it appeared at the beginning of the transfer window that they'd kicked Evo and they were going to look for a new third. For a while, it looked like Zanil was going to be lined up with these two, but then Zanil got the spot on 9 Lives, and these guys can't find a new suitable third. So it sounds like, as of I'm recording this, they're just going to be sitting out. So, yeah, a lot of thoughts are being shared about that. If this video is releasing Monday, then assume that still stands. If it changes in between, I released it on Monday and the deadline closing, I'll try to provide an update. But yeah, this is how things stand as of Sunday night. There's less than 24 hours until the transfer window closed. I feel like everything's pretty sorted, but that's what we got. I'm going to do this again in 1 week for Europe because that transfer window still has another week before it finishes. And I'll also try to provide something midweek with like the minor region transfer updates because there's some other ones going on. Like I mentioned it in the show that I do for the rankings, but MTS was signed by Vision. They've got SMW instead of Suspect. Some other moves like that. So, that being said, that's North America. Hopefully this clears up how we head into the second split. I'm excited to see what these rosters can do. There's obviously these 2 spots are expected to go to LAN, and then it's going to be a competition between probably these 5 teams, and then if POA can continue swinging up, but that wouldn't surprise me if that's a one-off. But yeah, that's what we got. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.